What's good? What's good? Happy Sunday, everybody. Sunday evening. I wanted to get on real quick before the week begins on Monday. We've been getting on every day for a couple of weeks now. I'm actually really proud of myself. Thanks to you for checking in, and shout to you and shout to me for getting on here. We've covered a lot of ground. Yesterday we talked about dimensions, yo. We talked about dimensions. We tried to ground it in the scientific physics approach, dimensions as described by physicists, and it also has a role in geometry, so also by mathematicians and such. I guess we could rehash a little bit about that, but I wanted to say too that the whole point of dimensions, again, this is language we're giving to reality. This is not sort of the Hollywood sort of concepts of dimensions. This is language giving language to reality. And the whole point of it is to show us that there are levels to reality. All the phenomena that we talk about, that we have labels for, we become familiar with these labels. We quickly reference words and symbols, and we tell ourselves that we know what we're talking about. And it kind of works. It works well enough to a degree until it doesn't work, until it becomes a disaster, until it all breaks down. Why do things break down? Because words are not the things themselves. Words are the symbols. Words are symbols. We talked about this extensively, man. Words are symbols. They are not the thing. Super key. Super key. And there's levels. There's levels to things. There's levels to truth. And so even if someone were to say and articulate a truth, it's important to be able to interrogate it and to apply nuance to that. So if someone were to say to you that fire is hot and dangerous, that would be true, but it's not the full truth. If you were to apply that truth entirely and take it for face value, you might avoid fire entirely, and you would miss out on all the benefits of fire. You would miss out on all the benefits that fire provides for us. Same thing with electricity. Electricity is dangerous and lethal. That's a truth. But there's levels to truth. And as we said yesterday with the different dimensions, as you get and you're talking about phenomena that is more and more complex, it requires more language. It requires deeper nuance to accept and tell an accurate story about the phenomena. So this means it really asks us to be curious, as we're being hit over the head every day with so many stories, news stories, social media stories. Professional journalists, as I've said, professional journalists, the cable news guys are lying to their different audiences, giving them stories, telling them things that they want to hear because they want to keep the audience and things like that. So there's levels to this. There's a journalism that's going on. There are professionals giving language to reality, helping people understand the world, sort of. And if you take that at face value, you'll just like the fire thing, you'll be confused actually if you think that the journalists are entirely that. You discount that deeper truth about the context behind the journalism, about why it is that CNN sat this particular panel of 5 people. Why does it include, you know, these people? Scott Jennings is over there. Why? What does that have to do with journalism, right? Well, there's levels to stuff. And when you include that and understand the backstory, the context, the corporate interests, the context, then you can actually, you might be able to watch it and actually get a deeper sense of truth. But you have to be curious. You have to be curious. You have to look past just words. Words are symbols. And sentences are sentences are sentences. They are words strung together to hopefully make a coherent sentence. And because we speak so flippantly, and because speaking is this incredible phenomena that's so easily available to us, we take it for granted, and we lose touch with kind of what the point should be. And so, I mean, one of the things I hate so much is I've talked about the manosphere and the way they talk about phenomena. Again, you look at people, these social media personalities in the manosphere, these men, they claim to be sharing truth with their audience. We're going to tell you something about women. And they'll come up with a thing. Women are emotional. Women are this or that. They'll come up with a thing. And this is a sentence that, of course, yeah, women are emotional. But men are also emotional. And also women are logical. And women are a whole host of things. See, the challenge there is women itself, women as a social category, females as a biological category, females are complex, humans are complex phenomena. They are very complex phenomena. So when you have a sentence that has a simple object, subject, and an adjective, like women are emotional, it's not true. It's immediately an inaccurate. So it's true in a certain sense. It's true in the sense that humans are emotions are a part of the human condition. But if you've applied that to women, you could say, and it's a sentence that has truth to it, but it's not accurate. And particularly when you think about the broader context, by leaving out men, by not saying that men are also emotional, you've warped the truth. And by not noting that, again, these manosphere guys are selling hatred for women as part of their brand. That's the context that you need to know to understand why those words are being used, why those words are being strung together, and why it's not true. And there's a deeper truth than that simplistic truth. That truth is so simplistic that it becomes incorrect, and it's actually harmful to put that in the minds of young boys, for instance. So this correlates, like, this desire to try to give language to truth and to be aware of the fact that truth operates in levels, and that our experience with truth operates in levels, that we can only interpret reality through the levels that we choose to look at it at. And so that's what the dimensions conversation was about yesterday. I mean, I had check that video out in detail. I don't want to get into the detail on this. I actually want to be on this video for probably like 10 to 15 minutes tops. So I just want to continue, but like I like to give examples of things to help sort of solidify it. And one of the things I realized recently was, as I said, I left my job at CNN and I started to talk about media literacy. That was over 5 or 6 years ago. And I started to engage with media literacy and truth, and I would critique the corporate news media. I was, trying to introduce concepts of linguistics and challenge the idea of objective journalism, because objective journalism is a marketing tool. It isn't real. It's not a thing. And I'm doing this on my YouTube, and I'm writing things on my website at billybutton.com. And getting some comments. I get a few dozen comments, get a few dozen likes, and my YouTube page is slowly climbing and getting some views and things like this. And then I remember watching and seeing these other people talking about media literacy, and they would pop up, these YouTube pages would pop up on my feed, and I would check. I would say, oh shit, here's somebody talking about media literacy, just like I am, and it would have 20,000 followers. Okay. And I was like, what the fuck? How is that possible? How is this like, to me, I'm looking at my timeline, my experience, my goals, I looked at how I'm positioned. I think, I have a unique background and a unique perspective and a way of talking about media literacy. And I remember the first initial reaction to seeing the success of other media literacy content creators was, especially the successful ones, was a bit of jealousy. I hate that word, but I got to use it here. A bit of jealousy, a bit of like, what, And what I'm trying to point to now is the power of a deeper understanding, because that first response, as I see it now, is the product of a lower understanding. It was the product of a lower understanding, of a more shallow understanding. It's a product of me thinking about myself and my timeline, comparing myself against the external world, um, and through that comparison, feeling a kind of lack, feeling that I was behind somehow, feeling like there was something incomplete, something I need. Oh, this isn't right, and feeling that tension. The higher level understanding that I've arrived at is one that actually is overjoyed when I see a successful media literacy content creator. When I first started 5 years ago, it wasn't just that I wanted to be the the big famous media literacy content creator guy. I wanted the world, I wanted the American population to develop discernment and concern over the media that they were watching. I wanted them to have the language and the perspective to be able to critique the people that were watching, that they don't take for granted the idea of objective journalism, just assume it to be true. They don't take for granted that the guy that they see on TV with the suit and the tie, um, that he has their best interests at heart and that they're saying truthful things, and that the panel, as they claim to be experts and objective experts, that you have this broader kind. So these other people are doing that work. As I said, I would find more and more. I mean, dozens by now. I've followed, I've subscribed, I'm connected to. I've had conversations with dozens of people who, for different reasons, have come to this realization that it's important for them to speak up and use their voice to bolster um, people's self-defense against propaganda, to support media literacy. And that's huge and that's big and that's valuable. And to correlate that with the yesterday and the dimensions, this is like a 5D acceptance. This is a realization that these people are me, that you are me, that we are an ecosystem. And so it doesn't make sense for me to expect or desire to be entirely, like that jealousy thing is rooted in a separation. The idea that there's something to compare and that I have to, I should feel some lack is rooted in a separation, when a higher order awareness of the truth sees the incredible benefit that all these 20,000 people who are subscribed to this person, if they are truly grasping that information, they are a great deal more amenable to the ideas that I bring to the table. They are a great deal more familiar with the language and the vernacular. They are open to the concepts that I bring to the table. This is to my benefit that dozens of other people are, just as I've seeded the ground and I've gotten the kind of traction I've gotten, but that they've seeded the ground and they've gotten incredible traction themselves. And it's great. And we're in support of each other, whether we know each other directly, whether we coordinate or not. And that's the truth. And that's the highest truth, that the real benefit comes from all of us increasing our awareness and our discernment and engaging with media literacy proudly. I actually found another beautiful Black woman. I don't even remember her handle, but she shows up on my feed and she is critiquing not just the mainstream media, but the way people speak on social media. As we know that the social media has taken the place of the corporate media. Corporate media has fallen, by the way. They're done. They've lost their credibility. They exist. They continue to make profits. They've got systems with the advertising and all that stuff, but no one takes these things seriously. Anyone under the age of 40 knows better than to watch and take seriously the cable news stuff. And so, but she's here critiquing now that we're in this position, the ways that some people talk. She was critiquing the use of absolute language, like always, and the way people describe things, similar to what I said earlier about how some guys will say women are emotional. She had a critique about the way we use language, and she was asking us to. She was pointing this out, this challenge of language, and then in the same video, she was telling us she's kind of boasting about her credentials. Yo, she's an award-winning journalist. She went to broadcast journalism school. And she was spitting. She was spitting. She had all this stuff she was talking about, and it was like brilliant, and it was beautiful, and it was accurate, and I immediately followed her, and I checked some of her other videos, and I got to see that she's passionate about this. So this person I found, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and again, from where I am, it was easy for me to be excited for this. It's like a new challenger it's not a challenger, a new contributor. A new contributor has entered the chat, and her willingness to do what she's doing is entirely driven of her own volition. I don't know her. I didn't ask her to do it. She's doing it on her own. She lives in I've never met her. She lives in an entirely different part of the country. She's doing her thing, and we just happen to arrive at a very similar place ideologically, and we're using our time to develop what I believe is underdeveloped and what she believes is underdeveloped. What's underdeveloped is the media literacy discourse and the discernment around news and around language and about how we describe things. So, I mean, I might wrap it up there just to say, again, look, the point is to be curious, to know that we're connected. The story we have, we tell ourselves stories. We watch the news, and every day we are reminded about politicians and about beefs and about scandal and nonsense. But there's a deeper truth going on. And that's why we talk about authenticity on this channel. That's why we spent 9 episodes diving deep into what authenticity means and why it's important and what it is. Because you can't articulate truth. You can't engage with truth if you don't the thing you have the deepest access to is your own self. And that's why it's important that you are grounded, that you know yourself, that you understand the biases that govern your experience and your word choices and your approach and your perspective. And from that, you have the ability to actually carve a discourse on reality. And without that awareness of self, you don't have an opportunity to have a discourse on reality. What's his name? Which senator? Not Mitch McConnell, the other guy. The senator that just died. What's his name? I don't remember. Lindsey Graham. Just tweeted, Lindsey Graham died. There was a tweet from Sean Hannity. Lots of people are tweeting today about this. Lots of people have different things to say. Lindsey Graham was a terrible person, a war hawk who was always happy to, never saw a war he didn't like. And now he's gone. But Sean Hannity tweeted this whole thing about how he was this guy, the hardest working man in Congress, and a peace loving senator, and all he wanted was peace. And it's just not true. It's just not reality. It's entirely detached from reality. Why? Because Sean Hannity is detached from reality. Sean Hannity pretends to be a journalist. A journalist is someone who uses accurate language to describe phenomena in the real world. Sean Hannity hasn't done that for 20 years. He knows nothing about that. And so this tweet is just another part of his performance. And it's really frightening. If you really take back and look at it, you realize how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people take Sean Hannity seriously and take people like him seriously, and what that means. What that means for all of us. What does it mean when you encounter someone like that who takes Sean Hannity seriously? Who the stuff that he has to say. Well, it's not just Sean Hannity. We all have the ability to deceive. We all have the ability to deceive ourselves. And we are engaged in a very complex world, a world that is deeply complex. And as I said, when you really get down to it, when you take the time to examine the world with depth and with love and real effort, and you relinquish the words and the separations and the assumptions that you typically have, and you sit with yourself and examine your thoughts, you realize that you can deceive yourself easily, that you have been deceived, and that the ways you describe yourself, your own identity is itself a kind of self-deception. It's something that you agreed upon. It's a whole hodgepodge of shit that you agreed upon when you were a child and into your adulthood. All these incentives for love and all these incentives to avoid pain and things, fear inducing things, and you've been cornered into a little box called your identity, and that you are bigger than that, and the world is bigger than that. And in order to get to any of that, in order to really grasp any of it and to really sit in awe of what actually is, we might call it God. Some of us call it God. What is the whole thing, the totality of it, the depth, the breadth, the brilliance of it, the good and the bad, the ugly shit, and the unbelievable miracles that occur daily. You'll have to be curious. You'll have to look beyond labels, black, white, right, left, Democrat, Republican, citizen, immigrant, blah, 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 blah. Black man, queer woman, labels. They are shorthands that give us the quick ability to assess, and we agree to them, and they serve us until they don't serve us. But they're supposed to serve us. And so when they don't serve us, you discard them. You create new language. You assess anew. You deal with the thing, not the symbol. All right? And you'll need to be curious to do that. So be curious. Damn, this went to 24 minutes. Holy shit. Time flies, yo. That's the episode. That's the message. Check out the rest of the YouTube channel, man. We talk about philosophy. We talk linguistics. A little bit of politics. We talk love. Subscribe. I see the God in you. And I thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.